Thanks, Don. I appreciate it. Okay, can you guys hear me okay? I was told to be very intimate with the mic, and I'm not used to it. But anyhow, yeah, thank you for the introduction. As he said, my name is Jack McCoy. I'm a graduate research assistant at Ohio State, working in the Horticulture and Crop Science Department. So I guess he kind of told a little bit of my background, but why would I talk to you folks about chili pepper today? Last summer, I moved here from New Mexico and worked at New Mexico State University in one of the biggest chili pepper breeding and genetics programs. From there, I decided to come to Ohio State, where in our lab we're kind of focused on evolutionary ecology of chili pepper in Mexico and how maybe local adaptations have potential drought tolerance traits we're interested in. So these are the kinds of things I've been thinking about. But ultimately, the last few years I've been considering chili pepper quite a bit, and I'm super excited to talk to you guys today about this. It's not often that I get to have fun and not present data and just, talk. This is going to be a very goofy talk, so let's just get started, I guess. So let's see, how does this work? Oh, like that. So I was considering what to talk about because, frankly, I could speak on chili pepper for hours, and I know you don't want that. And I thought maybe I'd frame my talk around the modern romance, or at least from my perspective, what I've learned to be a modern romance, and maybe my experience is not the same. Actually, I'm looking at the stage right now, and it looks like honeycomb, which is cool, because, sorry. But anyhow, so to me, a modern romance is made up of a few things. First, it starts with romance. And I'm going to take you a little bit through sexual compatibility of chili peppers, because frankly, that's where relationships seem to get started these days. Next, if you really want a relationship to keep going, we need a little bit of chemistry. And I'll give you a little bit of hot and spicy detail on chili pepper. And finally, if we want a sustainable relationship, what's some companionship? How does chili pepper work with each other and with us, and why do we love it so much? So with that, we'll get started. Come on, I'm going to hit the wrong button every time. I don't know if you guys, I'll mention this later, but so I was considering, how do I talk about sexual compatibility in an interesting way? And I figured, how do folks meet each other today? I don't know if y'all have heard of this app, Tinder, but this is how people seem to get introduced. And so when reflecting on sexual compatibility in pepper, I thought of this kind of neat idea, a Tinder for vegetables. Wouldn't that be cool? How do they work? And then I thought, why would there be a Tinder for vegetables? Wouldn't they just use Bumble? Because let's all be serious, it's the bees that are kind of doing the pollinating, if you know what I mean. So I think if you guys can help me, we're going to create a profile. And I say you help me, but it's a PowerPoint. It's all predetermined. And actually, there's not much interaction available, but we'll try. So let's create a Bumble profile. Do you guys want to do that? Let's start off with chili pepper in Ohio. So you may think, who cares about chili pepper in Ohio? Midwesterners don't like spicy things, as far as I can tell. But in fact, funny enough, last week I read a little article from the Ohio Farm Bureau titled, what was it called? The Pepper Party, talking about backyard pepper production. And I'm not sure I would call it a party in Ohio, but it's a significant get-together, at least. And actually, Ohio is in the top 5 states for bell pepper production. And there is a small chili pepper industry here as well, which consists mostly of jalapeno and banana pepper. So I took a liberty. I suspect you guys like jalapeno and banana pepper, but you might like banana peppers a little better. They're kind of cute, so this is what we're going to be collectively. This is our profile. So the banana pepper Inferno is a cultivar which in 2017 was included in an Ohio variety trial, and it didn't perform great, but it didn't perform bad either. It was kind of moderate, but most of us are. And mostly on an online dating profile, it's really about first impressions. And Inferno's a pretty cool name, so I figure that might get us a couple of swipes right. So I'm Inferno, and we're in the species Capsicum annum. Our body is Hungarian wax. We're a little hot and spicy, but mostly we're sweet when you get used to us. 0 to 500 Scoville heat units, which is our measure for heat. I'll get into some of that here later on. And if you want to get to know us, we like it pickled, stuffed, or fresh. Now, before we get to swiping on some people and meeting some potential mates, let's talk about sexual compatibility. There's something called the capsicum complex, which consists of 3 groupings of species that are sexually compatible. The first being Capsicum baccatum, which has these super cute, is there a laser and does it matter and can anyone see it? Y'all can see that. Okay, so these are some really cute white and yellow flowers. Capsicum baccatum is actually a really popular pepper throughout Latin America. It's in staple foods like ceviche. And some of you might be familiar with this popular Capsicum baccatum, which is ají amarillo. Additionally, there is the Capsicum pubescens complex, which has even cuter little purple flowers, which I'm obsessed with. But it's not such a popular pepper, and you may not be familiar with many of them, but also exists throughout South America mostly. One popular pepper is known as the manzana because it resembles sort of an apple shape. It also has black seeds, which kind of is neat, and I'm just noticing that now. But finally, we have the Capsicum annum complex, which has a more boring but still cute white flower. These have basically all the peppers you know and love and are throughout the majority of the world, which include bell pepper, the New Mexico, and jalapeno. Additionally, us, which is, if you remember, we are banana peppers in this scenario. So, let's look at a profile, shall we? Oh, by the way, yeah, so I'm going to focus just on this complex because these species in this complex are sexually compatible, and it's for the sake of time, we can't really get into the rest of it. So, hey, what's up? My name is Bootjalokia, but you can call me Ghost for short. I'm an interspecific hybrid between Capsicum chinense and Capsicum frutescens, which means I have a diverse and interesting background. I'm originally from India, but you can find me grown all around the world these days. I'd tell you what I'm paired with, but frankly, I'm too hot to be tied down by anything or consumed, really, because we're actually over 1 million Scoville heat units. This is actually one of the hottest peppers in the world, was the hottest pepper in the world until we found the Trinidad Moruga scorpion, which I'm sure you've heard of, and then there's a backyard gardener, which came up with the Carolina Reaper that folks know and love. But anyways, so what do you guys think? Should we swipe right or left? I'm just telling you, you have no choice. We're swiping right on this guy. Oh my gosh, it's a match. And as you can tell, I've stolen a lot of photos from the internet, and I'm not very good at editing them. So all of a sudden, Bootjalokia is now named Amanda, which maybe is appropriate. I don't have any idea. They're kind of an Amanda to me. You guys want to send her a quick message? Well, I didn't crop this guy's face out. But I was thinking maybe, let's see, I don't know. It's always tough to know what the first message is, but maybe hey, with 2 Y's, B, flower, winky face. This to me is the plant equivalent of sending an eggplant. But I'm not sure. You're right. Are y'all familiar with? You guys are young youths. You understand. Eggplants are kind of phallic in the emoji world. So, as you might have noticed, and just as a reminder, so we were an interspecific hybrid with this Bootjalokia, but it was actually a different species than what us as a banana pepper are. And But they're still in the same complex, and so theoretically they could breed, but you might not always get a 100% viable seed. Additionally, capsaicin, which I'll get into later, but is this compound that is responsible for heat in pepper, high amounts of it actually have been shown to inhibit seed development. And Buchalokia, we know, is a hot daddy. So maybe it won't work out. And if the suspense isn't killing you enough, I did this whole silly example just to say that I keep pressing, I'm gonna blind you guys over there. We were ghosted. Right? Ghost peppers? 1 hour ago, nothing. Well, ghost is too cool for us, I guess. But that's okay, because there's a lot of peppers out there. So let's move on. Oh, Chiltepine. What a cutie. Hi, my name is Chiltepine. I'm Capsicum annum, variety glabrusculum. I'm semi-domesticated, which means I'm a little wild. I'm from Mexico originally, and folks often call me the mother of chilies, but for you, you can call me the daddy of chilies. Too much? I think the daddy thing is a thing, but sorry. And for the sake of time, we're actually gonna quit this Tinder thing, but I'll just tell you, we matched and we hit it off. So, part 2, they fall in love. Does anyone play Mrs. Pac-Man in here? I'm gonna get on a tangent here real quick. I love Mrs. Pac-Man, and I'm very bad at it, but it's the only game I'll play in an arcade. And when I get into, very rarely, I get in a few levels, and then they have this Act 2, they fall in love. And so there's these acts in Pac-Man that say, they meet, they fall in love. And that's what I'm doing here. But you wouldn't know that if I didn't mention it. Anyway, so let's talk about the chemistry. Is there some chemistry between Chiltepine and whatever? Banana pepper? So actually, chili peppers probably have a lot more health properties than you realize. They're high in antioxidants and in vitamins A, C, and E. And despite what you might see in orange juice commercials, chili pepper has more vitamin C than an orange. One chili pepper, depends on which one we're talking about, but generally will have your daily value allotted for vitamin C. But I really know what y'all are really interested chemistry-wise, and that is the capsaicinoids. So the capsaicinoids are actually what's responsible for the heat in chili pepper and what gives it that kind of hot and spicy relationship. They're actually unique to the capsicum genus. And you know, I forgot to mention this, but my friend and I were talking last night, and I wanted to mention that capsicum is a nightshade family, and like all nightshades, they develop some kind of toxic or defense thing, and actually the capsaicinoid production is chili's sort of nightshade toxic defense thing, which didn't really work out the way they probably anticipated, but we'll get into that. So, unique to the capsicum genus, there's at least 20 capsaicinoids, but really just these two, capsaicin and dihydrocapsaicin, produce most of the heat. These vary depending on the chili, but capsaicin is really your major producer here. And despite what most people seem to think, I get this question all the time, they're located in the vesicles along the placenta. Yes, peppers have a placenta, and they're not in the seed. Everyone thinks that the chili pepper seed is hot, but they're not. So here we go. Here's a jalapeno. And there's the placenta right here along that white. And this yellow line here is actually the vesicles producing capsaicin. And so yeah, good. I like this over here. I like those guys. So actually, and you know, I think it was the first week I was working in the chili pepper breeding program in New Mexico, and my boss did this really, it was impressive to me. It's not very impressive, but we're in the field, and he leaned down and cut open this pepper, and we can gauge without having to taste and ruin our taste buds how hot a pepper is going to be based on how dark this, based on how dark this yellow line is. So this jalapeno is probably pretty dang dark or hot because this is a really deep yellow line. So if you're ever curious, you know, actually heat is really variable. So cut your pepper open, see if you can find that yellow line, and you can gauge how hot it is. All right, so but it's so strange, this capsaicins, and why it's kind of a lot. Why are people so interested in this? It's really curious, right? So the evolution of heat is really interesting. So capsaicinoids were actually produced, we think, to deter mammals from consuming them because a seed of a chili does not survive the digestive tract of a mammal. But actually, the seed does survive bird poop, and birds don't sense capsaicin, and so they're kind of the primary seed dispersers, and this is why we think it's produced. But weirdly enough, humans have this weird thing where this was a compound literally produced not so that we wouldn't eat it, and now we've taken it all over the world. Anybody ever read Michael Pollan's Botany of Desire? I think he ought to have considered chili pepper in this because though this originally intended for us to not touch it, is actually because of the heat that this plant has been able to spread all around the world, which is really fascinating. So its center of origin is in Latin America, kind of in the Andean region, Peru and Bolivia. And early on, indigenous cultures were really into chili pepper. The Aztecs, Mayan, and Incas even used them as currency. Medicinally, Mayans would treat symptoms of asthma, cough, and sore throat. It's a pain relief. And even still today, and some of you might need this tomorrow, the Tucano people of Colombia are using it as a hangover cure. And I have not tried this, but if y'all are feeling crappy tomorrow, grind up some peppers, mix it with water, and pour it up your nose. What? That sounds offensive. But this is apparently a hangover cure to these folks in Colombia, so great. So how did it get around the world? Have you guys ever heard of this guy, Christopher Columbus? Well, I'm sure you're aware that he was just making assumptions and incorrect assumptions all over the place and got lucky a lot of times. And one of these incorrect assumptions was with the chili pepper. And he stumbled upon the chili pepper in the Andean region in South America, and thinking that it was similar to the pungency he'd experienced in black pepper from Europe, it must be black pepper all the way across the world. So he sent the plant back to Europe, hopped on the spice trade, and kind of instantaneously was incorporated into Europe and Asian culture. And it's insane to think about because chili pepper is such a staple in so many foods and really didn't exist until Christopher Columbus introduced it. But I really would like you guys to determine if you think Christopher Columbus was kind of foolish in this or not. This is Capsicum annum. This is the chiltepine that we matched with earlier. And this is Piper nigrum, not even closely related to chili pepper, but produces black pepper. Do you see a similarity? What I see as a horticulturalist, just based on the inflorescence alone, I'm like, what? I'd never group those. But, I guess he wasn't. But had he never seen black pepper?
Where would it be growing that he would have seen?
Well, he's eaten it. Maybe he saw it. This guy gets it. So you guys make the judgment. But this is where he decided that this is it. So, thanks, Christopher Columbus. Now, finally, I don't know what my time is. I could be going fast or slow. It's really, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So let's just wrap it up with some companionship because ultimately, you can have chemistry and you can be sexually compatible, but are you partners for life? Is that really a thing? So, first thing I look for in a partner is can they soothe some pain of mine? And they certainly can. Capsaicin is sold as an arthritis pain relief, high potency, odor-free, deep penetrating. And even in creams like Icy Hot, dang it, I spoiled it. Additionally, capsaicin can protect you. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And it's the major component of pepper sprays. But ultimately, what we're really interested in is can he nourish this relationship? He, she, they, excuse me for my pronouns. And they can. It's a staple in a number of cultures, but interestingly, all chili peppers are not made the same. And folks have recently come up with a heat profile that characterizes peppers and their spiciness. I just kind of want to point out, in an Asian culture, we have The Santaka hot Asian pepper is one from Japan. And we have, this is the heat profile here, and so it develops quickly. It's sharp on the tip of your tongue, like needles on the tip of your tongue. It dissipates very fast, but it's very hot. And then my friends in New Mexico would prefer this Hatch New Mexico chili, which comes on a little fast, but it's a flat, dull heat across your tongue, starts in the mid-palate, but moves all over the place, and it lingers into your throat, and it's painful. I can't stand it. And it's generally a medium heat. And I just want to finish off with just a few pairings of chili pepper, because thousands of combinations. First of all, I met this guy, Vic Klinko, but affectionately known as the Sauce Boss, at a conference. Fun guy to party with, even funner guy to talk about hot sauces. There are people like this all over the country. He holds the world record for the most hot sauces. This is his dining room, that crazy guy. And look at him. Oh, I love him to death. But you know, in New Mexico, we'd have green chili wine. But perhaps the most important, it's okay, it's not so bad. The most important comparison might be right here with us today at Brothers Jake Meadery. And so with that, I'd like to actually just leave it. Have y'all tried this habanero infused mead? I would really encourage it. I start every one of my trips to Brothers Drake with it, and it's absolutely fantastic and hot and crazy. But with that, I'd like to thank you guys, and cheers to Brothers Drake and all these folks, and take any questions, I guess, because I need to wrap it up. My apologies.